Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Super Pros Bros. I'm player 1, Isaac, and I'm here with player 2,
Eli. Hello. Thought I was going to say my own player 2, but, cool. Take the lead in.
I mean, I was born first, so I feel like I get to be player 1. Because I was player 1 for, 5 years.
I'm not arguing that. I just didn't get to say player 2.
Oh, you wanted to say player 2? Alright.
Yeah.
Next time, you can say player 2. All allowed.
Oh, thank you, your majesty.
You're very welcome, peasant.
I regret doing this already. Alright.
Don't worry, it gets worse.
It gets worse. How does it get worse?
Easy. I ask you what you've been up to.
A lot of hookers and blow. No. My life's not
Nice.
really
I'll
that
make sure to tell your wife.
I don't have the bankroll for that.
Not after she gets all your shit in the divorce.
Joke's on her. There's nothing to take. But she knows. I don't know to on no more serious note. The kind of box standard of being a general nerd, going to work. Was in Oregon recently to hang out with WoW guildies for my birthday. Get drunk and play board games.
I meant more on the writing scheme.
Oh, the writing side of it. So right now I'm currently writing a novel that is current prospective title. Excuse me. Is Clockwork King. Maybe. Clockwork something. Probably Clockwork Rebellion, I think. If it ends up being the grandiose series I want it to be, I think it starts
It's going to be Clockwork blank.
Clockwork blank. 90% on Rebellion, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Rebellion or Revolution, one of the two.
I think Rebellion works better. Otherwise, it sounds like you're making a book about literally clocks. Because Revolution...
I hadn't thought about that, and I don't think most people would. You get like any kind of cover art going. To be fair,
yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen any books about like actual clocks that have like some crazy badass cover art, like some angel on fire, and it's like talk goes about the in-depth workings of a Rolex.
Yeah.
It's so misleading. Just like what?
That would be kind of awesome. Rolex history. It's just like a warrior maiden, just like carving up a minotaur. You're like, whoa! And you open it, it's just like all about gears and shit.
Yeah, just like this really long-winded diatribe about the actual machinations inside of a watch. Just like, oh, this is...
Is there a correct pronunciation for... Is it... Because I always thought it was machinations. Is it machinations?
I've heard it said either way. I think it's just kind of a regional pronunciation kind of deal.
It's like Reese's Pieces or Reese's Pieces.
What kind of monsters is Pieces? It's fucking pieces.
That's what I said too, but I had somebody put that test to me and I failed apparently.
Does he says pieces of 8? Like what?
They said Reese's Pieces. I don't know if it's like
Does he take pieces of pizza? Like what the fuck is wrong with them?
I think they're from back east. Maybe is the reason. I don't fully know.
I think they're an idiot, but that's my personal opinion.
I'll make sure she hears this then.
Pieces. Pieces is a word that applies to a billion other things. Like. Pieces of pizza. No one orders that.
You're working on that. How lined out is... Because you're busy writing it. I'm helping with a little bit of the editing process. Mm-hmm. How mapped out is the...
Is the actual supposed end product?
Yeah.
Fairly. I think. I say that with a big asterisk. Largely because I was kind of expecting to do one of my big kind of showdowns that I've been building towards on what I would perceive to be about 60-ish, 65% of the way through the book, and it's coming up way faster than I had anticipated. And as a bit of a measure, initially as kind of a panic response to elongate my novel, because I was like, oh, this is terribly short all of a sudden. I kind of added conflict to it, but I think it works. So,
One way to tell.
yeah.
Write it out and figure it out.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense too, because it gives an easy opportunity to show that, like, bad people are willing to just, like, do terrible things to make sure they win. And kind of establish that identity of, like, oh, we're losing, we're done playing by rules.
I mean, that historically that tracks terribly well.
Yeah, and that's kind of the idea. So I think it's a decent stretch out. So I'm back to the idea that it is pretty well mapped. I would say about 85% mapped.
Do you have future plans in this same, like?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not going to be a one-off novel. You have part of a trilogy or whatever. Okay.
Yeah. I could not end this comfortably.
Mm-hmm. And not in the first one. Yeah.
No. Not.
Do you have the trilogy mapped out, or is it just this? The first book is pretty clearly mapped out, and the other ones, like, you've got.
I have 2
bullet points. You have.
I have both. In the sense of I have 1 and 2, and I have number 2 mostly mapped out in head. At least like a few very core kind of plot points.
Is 2 where it ends, or is that just how far you've gotten?
No, because I think I'd want there to be a third one. And largely because I know I would end 2 with kind of upsetting the apple cart in a way, and just taking a really big piece off the table that kind of changes the narrative in who holds the cards. I don't know how much I want to talk about this. Like, I just start throwing names out. But
so, how far are you along? Like, what percentage are you done with book 1 so far? Do you think?
In terms of getting a first draft on, so what do I have about?
You're like 50 or 60, or like I think you're like page 60 or something like that.
So I've got 35,500 words on paper. And I mean, if you consider that I'm looking at a draft of this being probably 80 to 100,000 words, so I mean, somewhere between probably 40 to like 35 to 45% done with the first draft.
Oh wow. That would put this book kind of short, right? That would put it at like about like 200 pages.
No. 100,000 words is like, I'm trying to think of a quick comparison.
Well, how many pages is there right now? I thought it was like 60.
It's 74. But it's like 500 words per Microsoft page. But you gotta remember, that's not like print on a novel.
Okay, that's not a printed page. Yeah.
No. Normal printed page is kind of expectation is 200 to 300. So I mean, a 100,000 word novel is like 350 to 400 pages typically.
You can tell that one of us writes books and the other one does not. By the simple exchange.
Exactly.
My page is a lot less words.
So actually here's an easy kind of benchmark. Oh, come on. I think like the first. Gosh damn it! I'm so full of burps. I think the first like Harry Potter is about 100,000 words. I think it's just short.
Okay.
I'm now curious.
Yeah, that was like. Just shy of 300, I think.
First book is short. It's 223. It's actually really short. Easier mark. Prisoner of Azkaban is 107,000 words.
Okay.
So about the length of Harry Potter 3's that 100,000-ish bookmark.
And
Chamber
that
of
one was like low 300s, right? No.
Prisoner
Azkaban, I
of
think that's like high
Azkaban page
300s.
counts.
389 is my dart on the wall.
Prisoner of Azkaban 317.
Oh, man, I was gonna go low threes, but it felt wrong because there's so much that goes on in that book.
Yeah,
But I guess there's a couple things that I'm forgetting that they ended up cutting out.
I'm amazed that Chamber of Secrets is so short. Actually, it's 251. I really thought that one was longer. And then it has this just immense jump to Goblet of Fire, which is 630.
Yeah, I remember Goblet was stupid big, but I mean, like, Goblet also has, there's like that first story in the beginning, and there's so many parts to it, and then like the competition, then the end, like the beginning and the end are like another book, like stapled onto it, with like, the whole entire thing of them going to the cup, and then at the end with him going through not only just the competition in general, but like the end competition, like that thing, and the labyrinth or whatever is super long, and then there's the whole entire thing with Voldemort
no,
coming back.
It's not like there's a lot going on. It's just kind of amazing that it's like 223, 251, 317, 636. It's just
no, but that's what I mean though. Is there's so much going on. It's basically just two. It's like kind of like two books.
Yeah, but I mean everything else after that too is much longer.
Yeah,
I almost wonder if that was like she had kind of surety of her series to get published, and so she's just like, I can go as ape crazy as I want.
Maybe
that's my like speculation.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're writing gold on paper and getting paid out, why not go deep? Like if you don't have to edit yourself, and you just want to go deep, there's probably nothing standing in her way at that point. Kind of like you're saying, it's just like like she kind of got probably carte blanche by that point. Probably. Maybe even sooner, but definitely by that point because it was starting to sell like hotcakes. Yeah. I think that's when. I want to say it was after like the first couple or whatever like that they started talking about movie deals, and at that point she must have just been swimming in it.
I wonder what those optioned off for.
Jeez, I mean, with some cursory research, I'm sure we could find out. But
enough.
Actually, I'll just cut this out 1 second. Not telling me the shit I want to know. I think one of the problems with this is that they weren't. I think she had a hand in them, so I don't think it was strictly optioned off. If that makes any sense, I think it was. I think she had a hand in it, so she probably got paid more or less than you would expect. I don't know. That's something I really wish we were not gonna knew we were gonna go off on this tangent. I would have looked it up as prep earlier, but to be in the moment,
I can say like with surety that she is the most paid author in history.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, it's like one of the most, if not the most successful book of all time, right?
One of. I mean, I think the next closest is like James Patterson. He's worth like 700 million or something silly. And she's like over $1 billion.
What did James Patterson write?
He writes a lot of like thrillers and stuff, I think.
Okay. But not many of them got turned into multi-billion-dollar movie and like theme park franchises.
Yeah, none of them got the franchise and merch sales that she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I mean, there's like a Harry Potter land either in Disney or in like Britain or someplace, right? Like there's like a theme park and all that shit.
Yeah. Probably Britain, but yeah. Like the merchandising is strong.
I mean that's what happens when it's kind of like up there with the whole Pixar marketplace, which obviously wasn't done. I don't think, particularly not by J.K., but probably not even by Pixar. I don't think it was done intentionally. It just kind of like serendipitously occurred, where it's like they got the kids and the parents and like independently of each other too. Like you get both that there were full grown adults waiting in line and knocking over children to get the Harry Potter books when they came out, like after like 3 and 4. Like it wasn't just a like, well, I have kids, so I'm ready for my kids. There were fucking full grown adults and be like, fuck you, Timmy, and just like fucking laying them out and just like snatching them.
Just swinging through and kids just like ragdoll flying to the side.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it's just like Black Friday, the book edition. Like that's all it was. I hope it was a little less like maniacal.
As obvious it is a stampede.
Less stampede. So you're about 35-40%, done with the
draft,
first version of the first draft. Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about how it's developing so far?
I'm enjoying it. I think it's going pretty well. It feels kind of weird because I'm not. It's not obeying my standard rule of just huck a million rocks at my main protagonist. Deliberately so. And it's interesting playing two sides of a coin. Isn't something I do much because
I've noticed that in reading this work. It is really cool. You're going from both sides of the. I wouldn't call it necessarily argument, but from two vantage points that are kind of. I wouldn't say necessarily diametrically opposed, but pretty much.
They're at odds. I mean, they're effectively on different sides of a battlefield. And they are at odds. So that's kind of fun because everything else I've written has been pretty unilateral. It's like you like these people, like you like the main characters for the most part. Like you want them to win. I don't really portray the villains as somehow good or decent typically. In like when I wrote Children Exiles, I have a few chapters that follow my main baddie to kind of make him not just crazy warlord monstrosity thing, but still at no point are you like, nah, I can sympathize with this guy. You're like, I mean, that sucks, but you're still a dick.
Yeah.
You are still kidnapping children to experiment on them.
If you went back now, having done it this way, would you have changed the way you wrote that?
Absolutely not.
No,
I wouldn't have changed. I wouldn't have changed it from that for him. I like Zelig being what he was, and I got to have I loved writing him because he could just be. He's like, I'm the monster that needs to exist. I'm the boogeyman, and here we are, bitches. Like, no fucks.
You almost ended up writing like a Disney theme song for him. You were so jazzed.
Oh yeah, dude kicked wholesale ass and looked good doing it. Like it was really fun because he's like, he's not super in the way that like any of my protagonists were, where they've literal superpowers. And he's just like, I have a boatload of technology inside me, and I'm better than you. Get at me.
Let's do this.
Yeah. So he was just that. I just gave him a bunch of weird guns because that was just so much fun. I was like, what's the oddest gun I can come up with that he could just throw around because he could lift a car with an arm, so he could just basically put a generator up on a rail and just shoot it at people. Fuck it. Like, let's make it weird.
We can make anything. Let's make anything.
Yeah, like, let's make... I was basically making weapons out of, like, the newer Spider-Man, like the first Spider-Man with Tom Holland. I was just making, like, weird guns out of alien technology. Like, he just had a bunch of those, basically. He would just show up to fights with a weird arsenal.
That's cool. Where did you get the inspiration, do you think, for the Clockwork Rebellion?
That one I explicitly know. That one is the product of drugs. And playing Risk of Rain 2.
Interesting.
So, um, while high as a kite, one of the characters is the captain,
Yeah.
and his kind of gimmick, or one of his big gimmicks, is that whenever you repair drones and just kind of add his little army that fucking flies behind you, they keep getting this little item of yours that eats enemy projectiles. So if you get a big enough cloud of drones behind you, you're basically immune to projectiles. And so I just got this weird thought in my head about, like, if there was someone who could just recruit things to him, and he just gets stronger as he goes for having more people with him. And he just gives a little bit of himself to everyone who is willing to follow.
That's cool. It's an interesting circumstance for that to kind of come about. How quickly did you write down? Did you Was it a day after playing? Was it during playing? You had to there's not really a pause, but there are lull points in Risk of Rain 2.
You can pause it if you're playing single player.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You can just hit escape. I kind of just mulled over it for like an hour and a half, and then when I eventually just ended that run, I wrote it down. Wrote down like a kind of jot.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was sober again, I started playing with it.
Trying to figure out what the hell you were talking about.
I remembered I didn't black out or anything stupid. It was just
yeah.
I was like, all right. So
no, but haven't you had? I've had this happen a time or two, not super frequently, but I'll either be high, be whatever, be tired, and jot down notes either on my phone or on a piece of paper, and then I'll read it the next day. And I'm just like, what?
I think I did it later that night, when I was still just up. I was like, okay, just write this down.
No, I meant have you ever had issues with doing notes like that, where you come back to them, where you're just like, oh what?
Sometimes I've had things where I've had weird story ideas, and then I try to think of it the next day, and I'm like, and it's gone. Okay.
Oh yeah, when you forget to write it down.
Yep.
Oh, that's the worst. I've had a small handful of ideas, some for jokes, some for screenplays or whatever like that, and it's just
if I write it,
fuck. It's shit.
If I kind of write it down at all, I generally retain it.
Yeah.
But if I don't write anything,
have you had to you haven't had to unpuzzle it like a
very few.
No.
I don't know. It's if I write it, it's it goes to a different catalog.
Yeah. I haven't had to do it often, but occasionally I've had to do it where I'm just what was I thinking?
I think if I had to do it once, I was like, the hell? That's generally speaking, if I write something down, it's pretty well lodged.
Nice.
Because I've usually thought of it more than once when I write it down.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've been listening to that has helped you? I know you really are a big fan of listening to music while you write. Is there anything that you've listened to outside of music that has kind of inspired moments, or anything you've listened to while you're writing that has really kind of got you, that has you in the right headspace for this world and genre that you're writing?
No. I really don't listen to anything if I'm writing besides music.
No, that's what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Music wise, is there anything?
Oh, I thought you said I'm sorry. I thought you said other than music.
No. Music specifically.
Oh. So I do have one song that if I want to just default, it's the start writing song for me. Because for a long time it was the top of my playlist. When I was writing Children Exiles, and it's Barbed Wire by Rogue. And I don't think there's anything special about it. I think it's just through repetition, it became this song that I would play. It's okay, it's time to write. It just became a conditioned response.
It became your lo-fi.
Ring the bell.
Do you just listen to it on? Do you listen to it on repeat?
No, I will often play it multiple times because I really like the song.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot of stuff that Rogue makes actually. Um, and but normally I just kind of like put it at the start and hit shuffle and work with it from there. Another one that gets me to do stuff pretty regularly is People Say by Symphonics. And same kind of thing. That was something like I listened to a lot in college, when I would like have to move. So it just became a song for me to do something to. That one is much more upbeat and kind of like happy almost.
It's so interesting because whenever I listen to music, I can't write. I have to have, and maybe it's my inability and my difficulty with like multitasking. But I like for me to write, I usually the only thing I can usually have on is like rain sounds or something like that. Something that is like completely unmusical and just allows me to focus in because it's like like nature or something or like weather or something like that.
Sure.
Do you ever listen to music to get inspired for like a scene, or like whether it be like a fight or
Um,
just in general?
there are sometimes I will skip songs like on my playlist and I'll be like, this doesn't work, and I'll just like quick skip it. But I don't know that I go often seeking stuff out. Um,
No, that's not what I mean. I mean like when you're like, are you like listening to music on the way to work or just working out or whatever like that, and you hear a song and it inspires you for a scene or for like something like that?
I've had that happen a couple times. There's a few kind of notable instances I can think of. Um, uh, back in the kind of idyllic days of being a 20-year-old, um, when I was writing my first book, the kind of haphazard mess that it was. But there was a
Which
song,
which title
Evil's Hour Oblivion. Um,
available on Amazon?
Read at your own peril. Um, there was a song or a song I listened to. I think it's called Night Call by Dead V or Dead Five, however the fuck they want to say it. And it's not really the special. Like the song isn't like superb, crazy good. Nothing like it's really simple in many ways. But like for some reason I listened to it and like I could imagine like a movie trailer for the book and it just played out like perfectly and it was like splicing together scenes and it was like, holy shit, this is amazing. This is the best thing I've ever heard at the time because it's just like I don't know what about it my brain concocted like effectively a trailer for what I was writing.
That's cool.
I think there's a lot of times I will listen to music and I will just kind of watch, quote unquote, a fight play out in my head. But I think that's more deliberate. It's like, okay, this is kind of an up-tempo song. Okay, let it roll. But I don't have like, it isn't like a song happens and I just like, I'm suddenly haunted by memory. Like, no, it's not like this punch in the face of inspiration. It's like, okay, we can work with this.
I've had a couple that were punches of inspiration, but I don't know if it is circumstantial or not. That one I think I'd have to like next time I find myself in the moment I'll have to try to after the moment's over and try to figure out if I was like hunting for it or if it just happened upon me. But that's
Sure.
something to think on. Is there anything that you're reading or watching right now since that has like helped you inspired like you for this? So I guess it would be like that you were reading or watching, back when you like started figuring this out. Has helped with any inspiration of like character or, story development.
So I think one thing that I'll probably just always cite is like this has always been helpful. Was Stephen King's book about writing on writing, and just kind of making characters unapologetically in a way. That it's like they don't necessarily have to be answering to anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like if pick your mentality for them, and like don't pump the brakes because of like how you think it might be perceived. Just like give them an identity and be genuine to that identity for them.
Yeah, it's like you're having a bunch of people play. You're allowing the characters that are in your mind to play D&D, like, and follow their alignment, right?
Yeah.
It's like if this person is chaotic evil, he should then take a neutral good stance.
Yeah.
In like a circumstance like that, that's out of
Yeah. Like kind of just allow them to be in character. It's like, and I mean, people are allowed to fucking hate them. Like, all right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, I've been reading the book, The Blade Itself. Really good. I know you and I've talked about it. But it like
I know nothing of this.
Okay, it's kind of a high fantasy novel. Or it's not technically high fantasy. I haven't seen elves running around, but it is like a medieval fantasy setting. And like one of the characters is this like captain who is getting ready to fence for the king, and he's basically being trained to be this kind of awesome athlete because fencing is a big thing. He is a womanizing asshole. He's this arrogant dick. And most of the time, you kind of hate him because he's a douche. But he's great. He's a terrific character, honestly. Like, you know what you're getting, and because he starts out as just colossal twit, he actually has room to grow.
Yeah.
And, like, another character is this guy named Santiglotka, who is this former fencing champion and soldier who is tortured, and so like he's a cripple now. He's like his teeth are like filed out of his mouth. One of his legs is just fucking, the nerves and muscles are all cut, so it just drags around behind him all limp and shit. Like he's just this pissed off, angry cripple who is an inquisitor. So he tortures people and derives a kind of gross amount of enjoyment out of it. Kind of the like I'm gonna make you feel how I do. It's miserable. And he is a vile, malicious motherfucker. He's awesome. Like, they're unapologetically who they should be. And in many ways, you can expect a lot of their responses because they obey their own motivations.
Mm-hmm. So,
like, there's only like one character truly that's kind of an enigma, and he's totally supposed to be because he's the first of the Magi, and he's this kind of figure shrouded in mystery who's like several centuries old. Like, it makes sense that you can't really get a great read on him all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of like the essence of his character, right?
Yeah, like he's kind of above it all in a way because he's literally seen it all, and it makes perfect sense. But like everyone else has their own foibles, their own motivations, and are to a degree predictable, like regular ass people.
That's dope. Yeah, I think part of that too, like, goes to something that we like to see not only in the characters in the work, but in the work itself, is like that idea of like authenticity.
Yeah.
Right. Like you have a character who's bad. Okay. Don't take away from that identity and that truthfulness of that kind of character by then, having things that don't equate.
Yeah, like Sandy Glodka tortures people. There are numerous scenes of him torturing people. Like, but at the same time, because you follow him, you kind of appreciate that he's a shell of who he used to be, and you understand why he looks at everything so angrily.
Yep.
You know, like, you get it. You also just watched him chop a dude's arm up, like, a half inch at a time. He starts at his fingertips and just keeps moving back, like, an inch.
He sounds like a swell fellow.
Nice guy. Great dude. Just...
Makes a hell of a meatloaf.
He actually has, like, one of the coolest fucking monologues I've ever heard in a book or ever read in a book. Where he talks about, like, you know, drags this dude out to this abandoned, just, like, a manor, basically, right? On this terribly grimy end of town. And he talks about on the other end of town, there's this phenomenal dentist who, you know, fixes the mouths of aristocrats for a hefty price. He's like, and then at the other end, you have the other dentist, me. And he just pulls, like, a pair of pliers. It's like, oh, dear God.
This is gonna, and I'm out of Novocaine. Like, this is gonna get grim.
It's like, oh Jesus,
that's crazy. Have you been watching anything particularly spellbinding or reading anything particularly gripping as of late?
Otherwise, reading, no. Outside of Blade itself, watching. I mean, I completely unrelated. I guess watching the brain bleach from the dark. That is like Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid because it's just adorable. Like it's just cute. It's just cute. Fucking giggles.
Hey man, you need to balance out the no Novocaine dentist with something that kind of brings you back.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like a bell curve, right? All right, no. What's it called when there's like one curve goes up and it's mirrored on the flip side of the x-axis? It's a parabola, right? I think so.
I think that is what you want. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for each up, you need a down to balance it out.
Yeah, you need to counterbalance. You need to be back in the middle. That and I've been rewatching a decent amount of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Excuse me. With Artemis.
It's finished now, right?
It's doing its last season. I don't know if it's done yet. I don't think so.
You haven't started the last season yet?
No, we started rewatching the beginning. We're like most of the way through season 3, and they're on. Season 8.
It is crazy long. I was surprised that something so light and fun, and you know, it has moments. It does the MASH thing where it has these serious episodes that really like hit you in the gut for how absurd it is being.
I was thinking like more like they kind of does the Futurama thing where they have the occasional like really hard emotional hit. I think MASH does that so much harder. I haven't
watched as much Futurama as you have, so that's fair.
I watched a lot of Futurama.
Yeah,
send help. Yeah, I feel like MASH is. I feel like MASH is more of a really, really morbid drama that uses comedy to cope, like versus a comedy that has some very dramatic moments.
Yeah, you're probably right. So yeah, it does the Futurama thing where, you know, it's 90% funny, 10% serious, or, you know, whatever actual
Jesus Christ. Jurassic Park. That is... It's the episode with Fry's dog.
I was going to say, what are you talking about? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the episode with the dog.
Yeah,
like
which is based off of a real life thing, by the way. But I think you know that.
I think I've heard that.
Yeah, there was a guy in Japan who would walk from his house to the train station with his dog, and then he would leave his dog there, and his dog was so loving and duty bound that he would wait at the train station until his master came home. And then I don't know if it was, you know, the bombing of Hiroshima or, you know, he just died, and this was like years later and he just died of normal causes or whatever it was. He went to the train station one day, left his dog, went to work, died
Yeah.
and didn't come back, and the dog just stayed there, and they could not move the dog. The dog, like, I think they tried literally like taking it away, and the dog just came back and waited for his master. Just,
Yeah.
just another proven point that we are not worthy of the love of a dog. But yeah, it's that episode is based off of that.
Yeah, it's rough. It's like, oh god, oh Jesus, help.
Real life happy ending to that is they built a shrine to the dog at that
Yeah.
train station, which is a beautiful thing. But yeah, back to Brooklyn Nine-Nine and its absurdity. But it
Get
is
out of that.
it is surprisingly long. Like each season is like,
They're like 22 episodes. Like they're long.
I think they're like 26 to 30. They're like long. I remember because I went through it in like a month to catch up to where you were before the last season came out, and then since then I've gotten busy with moving to Los Angeles, trying to get into screenwriting, and picking up a day job. So it's been I haven't quite had the time that I once had when I was finishing university, and with with COVID going on, it was just like I had infinite amount of time indoors. I was taking classes that I was kind of paying attention to while doing whatever on my second monitor. To be fair, none of it was ever watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine because I couldn't pretend like I was listening to a professor and watch a show. That would never have worked. But there's plenty of gaming that happened while while I was listening and going and just like staring at the screen intently.
much
Like
much grinding.
Yeah, much grinding. Trying to think. There's something I watched recently that I was going to recommend, but for the life of me, I cannot remember what it was. I know that I'm like been meaning to watch The Green Knight and like Sound of Metal, which came out last while or so.
Oh, I know what else I do want to watch. I want to watch Squid Game.
Oh yeah, I showed you the trailer for that the
Yep,
other day.
and that came out like last weekend, basically.
Yeah, it came out on your birthday weekend. That's right.
Yeah, it came out that Friday. So since I'm back from Oregon and back to a normal schedule, I'm probably gonna find time to watch it.
And not hungover.
Yeah, not drinking like I'm in college again. Yeah.
How much did you have to drink anyway?
That night, a lot. I just kind of said, keep putting vodka and something in this cup. And so I ended up doing, like, effectively 3 Red Bull and vodka, and then, like, a bunch of vodka and seltzer, basically.
Brought in your 28th year.
Ah, yes. I was just like, they just kept filling the cups. I'm like, okay. Like,
Yeah, those enjoy those years while you can, or keep up with. I don't know. That is something I so far. I feel like I used to be able to do that, but like those years are like so far behind me. It's freaking crazy. If I tried to do that, I think I would end up in a freaking morgue.
yeah. The problem is I then just woke up at, like, I went to bed at, like, 2. I did not sleep very heavily and woke back up at 7, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good.
Yeah.
So,
You remember getting home though, right? Like you didn't like black out, or like wherever you laid your head to rest.
yeah, like I was at no point like blacked out. Like I distinctly remember walking in, having to duck under a phone cord because it was like running the length of the room, like stooping under and like army crawling almost, getting into bed, and then taking forever to fall asleep, and then just kind of waking back up. I'm like, shit. Okay.
Well, as long as you don't do what I did on my roommate's ex-roommate's, I think it was his like 40th birthday, 30th birthday. I don't remember how old he was.
Oh Lord.
We ended up going out and doing the Golden Mile a la the At World's End. Great film, highly would recommend. Anything by Edgar Wright would highly recommend. But trying to do, like, we picked like 12 bars and we did 12 pints. We stretch it out longer than they do in the movie, but boy howdy, it is an undertaking. Like the movie has it correct that like doing 12 pints is
There's a
a
lot.
shit ton. Like, yeah, like, unless you are a rough and ready alcoholic or just have a literal spare leg, it's gonna do you in. Like, we kind of cheated, and like a lot of the places we went to, we didn't technically get a pint. Like, we just got, got a bottle, like, just got like an over the counter bottle of beer or whatever, like that.
I
And
mean, if you're doing a pint at each of those, by the way, that's a gallon and a half.
yeah, we did it over 8 hours, but I do have stretch marks literally that I am like quite certain are from that evening of like between the actual alcohol and me trying to like stay conscious and like drink water, which was somewhere between a smart decision and a gigantic mistake. I'm not really sure which. But I ended up getting home. I'm glad none of my roommates were home at the time because from the front door, by the time I closed the front door, and then by the time I got to my room, I'm pretty sure I was naked. And I had two roommates at the time, and I was somewhere between I don't care and I forgot they existed. One of them, to be fair, was still out drinking until whenever he got home with a pounding headache. But I passed, like, hit my bed, passed out, and then woke up face down in congealed vomit, which is a different kind of impressive.
It's also good.
Literally, it made that sound when I like pulled my face off it. It was room temp cold, so I had been face down in it for a while.
It's actually really good. You didn't die and like aspirate.
Yeah, that is, and I actually don't know how because I was quite face down in it. So I guess like by putting, I think a half my face was pushed on a pillow, and so it couldn't go underneath the pillow, and so I was like breathing through feathers for however long that took until I woke up, and was just like, "What's on my face?" And I was like, "Oh, it was just like the worst,
Nastiest skincare regimen ever.
yeah." Man, can you imagine if I like found out like that was like it was like a de-aging process? Be like the weirdest selling product ever. Come and lay down face first in my vomit while wearing a scuba hookup so you don't die. It'll take years off of your life and off of your face.
It's like something out of Jackass. Like,
Jackass meets Fight Club. It's amazing. Yeah, no, so I woke up in that and it was just like, all right, well, it's been fun, but like I think it's the last time I've like drank to even remotely that extent. I was like, that doesn't need to happen again. Also, I feel like vomiting gets worse as you get older. I feel like I didn't like vomit a lot, but like anytime I vomited as a kid, it was like, or like kid to young adult, it was like a mild inconvenience. You had like a cup of orange juice and you were like back to normal. Like, if I have a rough night, and granted, I wasn't like, getting shit faced as like a teenager or anything like that, but like if I have like a rough night, it takes me a while to like getting to feel like remotely human, let alone functional.
sure.
Like it requires like coffee, bread, and about 5 hours. like I need a minute.
I wasn't doing all that great on the drive home Sunday.
You weren't doing all that great on Sunday either.
Well, I mean,
if I recall.
You mean Monday?
Was it Monday that we were talking? No, we were talking Sunday.
Yeah, we talked Sunday. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
No, we talked Monday.
Well, we talked both. Wow, that says a lot.
No. So Sunday I was messed up because I was just hungover and sleep deprived. And then I didn't sleep much Sunday night either.
Yeah.
So I just had 2 days back to back where I was on like less than 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has gotten off to a weird tangent.
Yeah. Welcome to non-structured podcasting, the show. That'd be a very long name instead of super pros
podcasting. The show. I like the kind of added of the show. Like people need to be reminded because they lost track over the course of the title.
Yeah, exactly. They gotta know where they are.
The show for dummies. Stretch it out a little bit.
Sounds like a show I'd listen to.
It's absurd enough that maybe that or it's a Japanese.
No, you just said
title.
you said it was for dummies, so I was like, okay. It was meant for me.
I mean, I could just be mistakenly interpreted as like a Japanese light novel title.
Just keeps meandering around until until the ink runs out on the typewriter.
I don't know what happened, but holy shit. Why do they feel the need to have, like, full sentences as a series title?
Do you think... This is actually a great question for you, because you do know considerably more Japanese than I do, and a relative amount for the amount of melanin that's in your skin. Do you think that some of that has to do with the fact that it's translated into English, or are you saying that reading it in Japanese as well?
I mean, both. Like...
it has a meandering long title even for being in Japanese.
Like, it's still like a 7. Like, it's still long. I mean, here, Berserk, single word in English, effectively a single word in Japanese too. Like, but that time I got reincarnated as a slime is like a 6-word title in Japanese.
Yeah, it's a sentence.
Yeah, it's an actual sentence. Like. That's not like.
Yeah.
To be fair, it is a little inflated in English pronunciations just because of the number of syllables.
Yeah.
Sure. They're still long as fuck, even in Japanese.
I wasn't sure if it was kind of like how there are words in other languages that denote something that, when said in English, have to be elongated. Like, there's a word in Russian for if you are fattening up your cellmate to try to escape Siberian prisons and you're planning on eating him, there is literally a one-word noun for that person.
Sure. Like Schadenfreude in German, right? Like, it doesn't have a clean English equivalent. You know, sure, there is that kind of thing. I don't... Anecdotally, little I know in Japanese, that isn't as prevalent. That there's just kind of like an idea. However, you do get, like, verb conjugation doesn't inflate the same way it does in English. Like, especially, like, past tense, like, that's happening, that happened, like, just there's a little bit there that kind of sloughs off, and, like, some of the kind of pronouns can be more assumed in Japanese, and subjects can be more assumed in Japanese, but otherwise, it's moderately 1-to-1 in terms of word kind of acquisition, if you will. But yeah, no, it's still long as crap, even in their own language. Like, it's goofy. Like, especially when you stack it up. Like, I mean, even because you still find some shows that are still using, like, you know, short titles, you know, like this you know, streaming season, like Tokyo Revengers. It's like a short title, clean to the point. And then you have I'm a Spider Now. Yeah, so what? It's like, oh, sweet God.
It's like the reverse of the Oreo name pitch, right? Where it's like, what should we name this? And the kid, like, has his mouth full of Oreos. Like, oh. They just, like, ask some kid who's got, like, some amount of disorders, like, what should we name this book? And he's just, like, says the whole entire thing. Like, you want that to be the title? He's, like, shrugs his shoulders, like, okay. And, like, they just don't have an editor on hand. It's like, fuck it. It's like, put it on the
this
book.
This book is about King Arthur and his round table. All right, put it in print, boys.
That would be an awesome book title. This book is about King Arthur and his round tables. Like, that. It's like the whole entire thing is that title. There's this... I haven't read any of it, but I do love... I'm trying to remember the name of the author. He has a book called John Dies at the End, and Don't Read This Book, It's Full of Spiders, I think is the other one. And those are like the titles. It's like, those are... They're a mouthful, but they're kind of awesome in this, like, meta sort of way.
I would say there's stylizing, where it's clearly a style, and then there's this I'm just gonna fucking slap a sentence synopsis at the top and call it a title bullshit that Japan has been doing recently. I'm like,
it's the Cliff Notes equivalent of writing a title.
Yeah, it's like a Reddit post TLDR. Like,
No, that's exactly what it is. And I think that's where they got that. Is they just like sent out the book. They're like, "What's the title?" They're like, "Just give us the synopsis, and we'll make a title." And they don't actually change it from the synopsis.
It's just the most abbreviated synopsis possible. Like,
We are TLDR Productions. That's how we name our shit.
yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it's just dumb. They keep getting away with it.
They can't keep getting away with this.
It's so weird because like there's some shows that are just garbage. They're just garbage that follow that bizarre naming convention. But there's some that are actually pretty fucking good. It's like, damn it, it's not like a consistent like. These are all bad.
You can't just like look at it.
I can't just
via
bring
the
the
name.
band. Yeah, I can't just bring the band hammer down.
Yeah, you're a pretty big fan of The Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime, right?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll probably go watch the second season because I think it just finished. So maybe next time I hit Parade.
Is that something that you would recommend to viewers out there? Is that going to be your recommendation of the week? Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime?
I think if you're looking to watch a game of Civ play out, of Civilization play out, you should absolutely give it a watch. That or I'd probably...
In a very bananas sort of way.
Yeah, in like the weirdest kind of like...
D&D meets anime.
Yeah, like D&D meets painkillers in anime.
Painkillers?
Like, it... I don't know if it's the right drug choice necessarily, but it's a little wonk. If you want the more slice of life,
D&D meets Civ meets anime meets Quaaludes, the show. I wonder if that's how many more syllables that is than its actual title.
not many.
Yeah, it's
if
probably
any,
like 3.
probably less.
It'd be amazing if it was less.
I mean, you're up against That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. You're up against like a 9-word title. Like it's... Or if you want the more slice of life thing, absolutely go watch Miss Kobashi's Dragon Maid. It's just great. It's just wonderful.
Just good boob tube material?
Yes. For more reasons than one.
Accidental faux pas.
Yeah. Accidental highlighting. There are some subtle Yuri vibes. There's a lot of big booba because Japan is going to be Japan.
Japan does Japan things.
Yeah. To the surprise of no one.
How much do you find yourself as somebody who writes something, from what I've read of your material, which isn't all of it, and forgive me for I have sinned, but a lot of it is, I wouldn't say necessarily highbrow, but it definitely makes you think, and there's a lot of story to it and a lot of elements, and it's gripping, but it's definitely not something that you read kind of casually. There's a lot of meat there, as it were. So, but the last 2 shows you talked about are pretty, I don't want to say mindless entertainment, but they definitely don't require your full attention to get as much enjoyment.
Sure, they're not meant to be thought-provoking. They're fun.
How much time do you think you spend watching stuff that is just light fun versus the stuff that you write? Like, stuff similar to what you write.
I'd probably go like 70-30. Honestly,
fun to heavy.
Yeah. I think it kind of depends because I think I kind of swap between phases, right? So like I'll do fun for a while, and I'll watch the absolute crap out of some fun shows if they catch my interest. I'm like, hell yeah. And then sometimes I'll go like, oh, a new season of Peaky Blinders came out. Let's get gritty here, folks. I think I watch more gritty movies than I do lighthearted movies necessarily.
Do you think that's because like a movie is like open and shut, and then you're like moving on, where a show is a lot more continuous?
I think.
Or is that, do you think, because of quality?
part of it, and I think part of it is quality. I think also part of it's just like Artemis and I have watched a bunch of horror movies and stuff recently. It's just kind of a thing we've been doing together a lot.
For those of you that aren't putting it together, Artemis is
my
the other
wife.
half.
Sorry, I should specify. And I think more of what I read is more on the somber side too. I think that's part of it. So I don't necessarily watch and read the same things.
That's interesting.
Also like a lot of what I watch. Like I watch just dumb crap on YouTube or watch like esports.
Yeah.
So
I've been finding that it's not that I don't enjoy heavy things, but I think it's just some of the stuff that I'm reading right now. I've been really in love with. Hold on, I'm going to cut this out real quick. Got to remember that I got to look up the name without running out of the room. Can't be right. Shit. Oh, fucking damn it. What's it called? No, fuck.
Ouch.
I can't remember. God damn it.
oh Lord, he trying.
I'm really. This is so bad. I don't want to be typing on the show, but. Son of a bitch. I remember one of the characters, but he's not the main character. Fuck. Ah! No, son of a bitch. I can't fucking. Ah! Hold on, if I go to. What are you. What sounds are you. Is that you laughing?
Pretty much.
I have to figure out what book this is. Hold on. Son of a bitch. I'm just cutting all this
This
out.
is really funny to listen to.
I'm really annoyed. I thought I remembered the name of the book and fuck ducks.
Yes, indeed. Fuck ducks.
I know I ordered it like the last. Hold on. Almost. God, it's gonna be okay. So I'm currently reading Bloody Rose by Nicholas Eames, which I would recommend, which is the sequel to Kings of the Wild, WYLD. And both of them have some weight, but not like it's somewhere between, the Berenstain Bears and Harry Potter when it comes to weight. Like the weight isn't the end of the world. There's not that much that happens to the main characters. Stuff happens to other people, but it doesn't happen to like the ones you care about, at least not in Kings of the Wild. Slight spoiler, but I mean, it kind of doesn't take away from the ride. I feel like you get about halfway and you're just like, oh yeah, nothing bad's going to happen to these people like it would have at some point. It just
Fair enough.
fucking does. But it doesn't take away from the fun because like most of the fun is kind of like in the writing. And like the dialogue and the banter is just like it really flows super well and it makes it
Also, take the shot.
enjoyable. Huh?
Take the shot.
Take a shot. Would highly recommend taking a shot at this book. That's for sure. It's super good and super enjoyable. It's something that getting back into reading after super long has just been super easy and palatable to pick up and enjoy.
I'm just going to leave that at just now's a good time to take a shot and just advocate everyone just take a drink.
I mean, if you feel the need, pour the mead. I regret nothing. You can't make me. But
But I can try.
Yeah, well, everybody's got to make bad decisions. Anyway, that's my recommendation for this week. Is just both those books are anything that you see Nicholas Eames' name on. I've thoroughly enjoyed both of. I'm only about halfway through his second book, but finished his first one. And it's like definitely one of those ones. If you're, you want adult content, but you don't want adult content. That makes it sound far dirtier than it is. If you want to read a book that is intended for, to definitely is intended for adults, but it still has that kind of rhythm and patter and stakes of, a book that you would have read as a teenager. I think it's like kind of like a perfect book in like of like kind of colliding those. So for me, being somebody who spent way too many years not reading and am regretting it and trying to make up for it as best I can, I think it's definitely, pretty high on my recommendation list. Um, I think if there's anything we want to say or talk about before we wrap this episode up. Anything on your notes that you want to talk about before we call it a month?
No, I think I'm probably pretty good.
Okay. Well, as player one, I'm signing off. Player two, any final words?
Um, I feel put on the spot now. No, not. Uh, keep reading. Be nerdy.
Don't forget to floss behind your ears.
Uh,
Laters.
What?